Kristen Ledlow, alongside a couple of Hall of Famers, Grant Hill, Isaiah Thomas. You've got that.
I just love when you call him.
I was just about to say, you have that like veteran Hall of Fame kind of smile. Every time I call him, he's like, whoa, yeah, it's still happening.
Well, hearing that, but also sitting next to my man and sitting with you.
Thank you.
Recently got married.
I did.
Yes.
I know. I'm
Yes.
back far too soon.
Congratulations.
To point that out. The tan hasn't even worn off yet. But thank you guys so much. No, I'm glad to be with you guys. And we are talking about a Houston Rockets team that's playing host in this game that we have first up here on NBA TV. This is a team, though, that sat on top of the Western Conference last season and now sits near the bottom of the league.
Yeah, and it's definitely time for panic. Grant and I were talking in the back, and the question was, when do you push the panic button? Okay, now.
Now? Okay.
Because, they're not playing well. And not only are they not playing well, they're not defending. Their offense is a mess. I mean, you got two ball handlers out there now in terms of Harden and Paul controlling the basketball. They're not sharing it enough. They just don't look like a D'Antoni offensive type of machine that we're used to seeing.
Isaiah said it best. I mean, everyone's sort of focused on the defense early in the season and losing Ariza and Ba Mute. But the offense, that's the thing that's been surprising. You got most of the same guys back, sort of the partnership with Harden, Paul, Capella, and that worked so well last year. And it really is, they're really struggling on that's the biggest surprise, how they've struggled at the basket, three-point shooting, their pace is down, just all across the board struggling on the offensive end.
Well, for more on the team thus far this season, we welcome in Rockets play-by-play announcer Craig Ackerman. Craig, tell me first and foremost about the decision now to bring Eric Gordon into the starting lineup, to change a little bit of the way that they're approaching the start to these games.
Well, first of all, congratulations
to
you. and welcome back.
I told you were going to have to carry me through this. I'm still
I know.
I'm
I'm doing what I can.
Basketball mode yet, so you take it away.
I appreciate it. So, yes, they've made the decision tonight to start Eric Gordon. And to be honest, they were thinking about doing it the other night in Dallas and thought otherwise. And even going further back to training camp, this was the coach's original thought to have Eric Gordon start at the 3 when the season began. But obviously, they decided to go in a different direction. Look, Eric Gordon is one of many players on this team who has been struggling, has not lived up to expectations. But he has been better as a starter than he has been as a reserve, averaging about 19.5 points per game as a starter, shooting about 34% from 3. But this is just about trying something new. The Rockets bench has been really ineffective all year long, and without Eric Gordon now coming off the bench, that has to be a major concern here tonight. But they're just trying to find something that works, and hopefully, and maybe tonight with Eric Gordon in the starting lineup, things will click, and the team will look like the team that we all expected and anticipated that they were going to be when the season started.
Well, how do you see it then? Is the answer to the Rockets' woes as simple as the loss of those pivotal role players, or do you see the issue as something deeper at this point?
It's much more complicated than losing Trevor Ariza and Luke Ba Mute. I'd be lying to you in saying that wasn't a small part of the equation, especially in terms of their defensive continuity with their switching schemes and Trevor Ariza's comfort level, and that they did miss that at the start of the season. But it's more than that. I mean, guys have underperformed. They're not defending. They're not rebounding at the level they did a year ago. And quite honestly, other teams this season, the vast majority of the league, now they don't quite take it to the extremes that the Rockets do, but the vast majority of the NBA is now playing like the Houston Rockets. And honestly, the Rockets are getting beat at their own game. Teams are just doing it better than they are. Offensively, defensively, with the switches and the ISOs, the Rockets are getting beat on that when they were really good isolation. Defensively, last year, James and Chris were two of the best ISO players in terms of their efficiency in the history of the league. So they're just kind of getting beat at their own game. They have a lot of variety of problems, and there's not really one area, and that's what's been very frustrating around these parts this season.
Well, so what's the fix? This is a franchise that has made it clear it intends to compete for a championship, so the expectation is higher.
The expectations are very high around here, and people are disappointed around here. I'm not sure what there is. Again, since there are a variety of problems, I'm not exactly sure what the one problem area that they can kind of go, all right, we fix this and everything else will fall in line. They hope they can find some different continuity with Eric Gordon in the starting lineup. This team still stays as aggressive as any team in the league in terms of trying to hunt for different trades and acquisitions that can improve this team. And certainly I think that's going to be a part of the next couple of months leading up to the NBA's trade deadline. The Rockets do have their full mid-level exception still remaining that they can ultimately spend on guys guys who get bought out as the season goes along. But right now, this is the group that they have. They're underperforming expectations. Nobody's happy around here, and hopefully. But the good news is, I will say this, is that there's a lot of parity in the West, and I say that with, it's probably too light of a word because there's so many good teams out West. But obviously, all it takes with these teams so tightly bunched is a 5-game winning streak, and you're right back in the middle of the playoff race in the West. And so that's what they hope that they can start accomplishing tonight against Portland. Get that first win out of the way, get some mojo working with a lot of home games between now and the end of the calendar year, and get back in gear.
Well, you guys can follow Craig on social media at @CA_Rockets. Craig, I asked you to carry me in this one, and you absolutely did, so thank you.
I don't know about that, but again, congratulations to you.
Thank you, Craig. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so this is a team that's looking at one of the biggest drop-offs in wins following a 60-win season. They're on pace to have 29 less wins this season than they were last season. That Cavalier team, by the way, was one that had lost one LeBron James after the season prior. What is it that stands out to you as the glaring issue for the Houston Rockets through the first quarter of the way this season?
Well, I think Craig, said it best. There's a lot of things. First of all, their turnovers. They're turning the ball over at a higher rate, which contributes to their bad offense. They're also not very efficient in close games. Last year they were 12-4 in games that were decided by 5 points or less. This year, thus far, they're 2-4. And their defense, that's obviously is taking a step back. Their pace is slower, and their spirit. It's just, you watch them play. They don't look decisive. They don't look confident. Obviously, losing does that to you. And these losses they've had as of late, against the Wolves, they blew a 19-point lead. They were outscored by 27 points to the Jazz in the third quarter. And then they let a rookie, a great rookie, and a talented rookie at that, but Luka Doncic go for 11 straight points to close out the game against the Mavs. And so that's just not obviously winning basketball. And it's not really one thing in particular. I think it's just an entire thing. But, you do want to shake things up, obviously, when you're struggling, and inserting Eric Gordon into the starting lineup is definitely a good thing. But I don't know if it's the answer in the long run.
How big a difference do you think that a guy like E.G. could make in the starting five? He said very recently that he's not having a good time, that the team this season is not what it was. Well,
to your point on Eric Gordon, I will say this, and I thought about it as you asked that question. Last year to start the season, Chris Paul was out. And I think at times Harden was out. And it was very rare early on that the two of them played together. So Gordon was getting a lot of minutes and was very productive and is very capable of scoring and getting hot and setting the tone and carrying a team for a quarter or a half. So him not playing as well and putting him in the starting lineup might be a good thing.
Okay, so if 10 games in, it was too small a sample size. We're now a quarter of the way through the season. You're saying it's time to hit the panic button. At what point is a team just what it is? At what point do you have to start looking beyond what you have on the roster?
When there's 15 teams in the West and you're in 14th place.
Okay.
Okay.
So around
now.
Really.
When you look at the West from the bottom up,
yeah.
Phoenix is 15, Houston is 14. So if you're not saying we need a change and it's time to panic and we got to do something, you can play all the semantics. You can use all the semantics in terms of, hey, it's a small sample size, there's a lot of time to go to. Dude, you're almost in last place. So what can you do? I look at their competitive effort, their competitive spirit, their joy. We watched Golden State play the other night and they beat Minnesota. You can see that they were having fun. There was joy in the team, even though, I think it was an 8-point game. It was 116-108, right? Minnesota plays a tough style. But at least you can see Golden State with some joy. You look at what E.G. just said in terms of Eric Gordon, like, we're not having fun, we're not having joy. That's what the game is all about. At its basic essence, we play this game to have fun. And when you're not having fun and you're not enjoying it and you're in almost last place, then it's a problem.
The NBA is fantastic.
That's why you play it.
I remember those commercials. Yeah.
And if you're not having fun,
right.
and when players say, we love this game and you play for the love, that is genuine. That's what it's all about. Now, there's two sides of love that we both know. There's joy and pain.
Yep.
And right now, the Rockets ain't getting no sunshine or no rain.